and welcome to another edition of Rail Rangers on the Road. The Midwest Rail Rangers, our 501c3 nonprofit organization, presents onboard educational programs across the upper Midwest. You may have caught us on the South Shore line between Chicago and South Bend, Indiana, aboard the Sky Parlor car at the Wisconsin Great Northern, on an Amtrak charter organized by the 20th Century Railroad Club of Chicago, on private rail excursions featuring heritage equipment, and at various outreach events such as Trainfest and Mad City Rail. In March of 2020, the coronavirus sidelined most of our programs.
A halt as train services, bus services, interstate bus services, railways, metros, they're all being stopped to break the march of the coronavirus.
After taking a few months off, we decided to come back and present virtual programs, taking you to exciting rail destinations across Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, and Wisconsin. So until we can be together again back on the trains, sit back and relax and enjoy another edition of Rail Rangers on the Road.
Well, hello! Welcome to the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad. It's July 26th, just after 7 p.m., and we're going to give you a tour of the dinner train / bed and breakfast train. The first segment is going to be on the Aristocrat lounge car. Before I hand it over to Robert, I'd like to thank the 20th Century Rail Club and all of our partners. And here's Robert.
All right, thank you, Candace, and we are live tonight aboard the Aristocrat lounge car. As the first part of our program here tonight, we'll be taking a look at this beautiful lounge car that was part of the Louisville and Nashville Railroad. This will be the focus of tonight's presentation, and then you can join us for a look at the rest of the Wisconsin Great Northern bed and breakfast train, and we will be doing that for you next month, August 23rd. But tonight our focus is on the Louisville and Nashville car, the Aristocrat, which is a tavern lounge car here on the Wisconsin Great Northern's dinner train, and you're taking a look there at some pictures of it.
Now, as we come back from that graphic here, the Aristocrat and its other lightweight sleepers cars on Louisville and Nashville trim the weight by at least 1/3 from their heavyweight predecessors by using stainless steel and aluminum construction. The new streamlined aluminum cars had bright silver corrugations on the bottom with a blue window band and gray roof. We'll start our lookout, though. We have a very special guest this evening who's going to give us a very in-depth look, a much more in-depth look than I could personally give you of this beautiful car. Over here, hiding behind door number 1, we have our special guest. Look at that. Surprises all around. So behind door number 1, hi Charlie.
Hi there.
This is Charles Barthold, who is going to give us an in-depth tour of the car here. He spent a lot of time doing restoration work, and so I'm just going to go ahead and I think just turn it over to you and give our folks a tour here as it's just about 7:05 in the evening here, so I'll let you fire away and show people the car.
Well, we just came from the rest of the train. This car would have been the tail car on the Georgian, which was originally a St. Louis to Atlanta train. It did get changed to Chicago, and in fact this picture over here on the wall is of the car in Chicago in 1966. They found that while it was a great idea to have a day train, St. Louis, Atlanta, the market was really overnight, and as they restructured things, then the trains split in downstate Illinois with one leg to Chicago, the other to St. Louis. I'm going to back up because as you walk in the car, you go past the bathrooms, And there's one of the things that we did an upgrade on, which was the mirrors. So I want to bring it back, and I'll let you peek in and take a look at the mirror. And it's to your left.
Okay. Oh, look at that. Oh, there we are. Did you, now is this original or did you put this in or?
No, this is one of the upgrades that we did to the car. We found a Georgian napkin.
Okay.
And took it to a glass specialist, and they were able to make the mirrors that we have in both of the bathrooms of the cars.
That is beautiful. So from an original napkin.
So original napkin, so the colors are right on from the original napkin.
That is really cool. Thanks for sharing that little tidbit there.
So one of the things that we tried to do in the restoration is to keep things as close as possible to the original, but not doing it to museum standards. So we did keep the thermostats in here. They have no function other than to be original. That's the only reason they're there. We did have to find a replacement to make the setup match. The colors as you walk through the car are close to the original, but there was more olive in 1946 when the car was built. One of the things that I'll show you on the blueprint on the other end of the car, but we'll take a look at the conductor's office just so you have an idea of how large the office is. As you can see, not very big, but the blueprint thinks 2 people can fit in here.
Okay. So, I guess, so they would always use this car as the private office to get some paperwork done or whatever.
Right, and there's actually, behind the door, there's a closet so the conductor could hang his...
I'll squeeze in here. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, could hang his clothing in here. And as any railroad car, it's a tight squeeze, and you can see that the conductor for the dinner train is keeping some of his clothes in here also.
Okay. Very interesting.
We'll take a look, since we have a good example of the tiles. The floor tiles, in trying to replace them, the colors, this would have been a dark brown, like the specks that you see in the floor, and this beige color would have been the speck.
Okay.
The greens would have been the light green that you see with the dark green specks. For some reason, in the 60 years between when the car was built and modern tiles, they turned 180 degrees.
Was it hard to find as close as you could, or?
So this was as close as I could get 180 degrees, off of what the originals were.
Okay.
In fact, I just looked last week because I still have some samples of the original, and just confirming what the colors were.
Do you do your basement at home in those tiles, the original tiles, or do you have them like well preserved somewhere?
No, those are all. Most of them are pitched. There's just a small piece here and there.
Oh wow!
So this is part of the electrical redo. The whole car was rewired, and we went through. Well, I actually had 4 different people working on the wiring. But it allows us a great deal of flexibility. The hall lights where we're standing, if we're going into a nighttime operation, so we have a dim level on it as opposed to the full strength.
That's kind of nice in the evening.
Right.
You don't want something,
So it's not as glaring. That also keys in with the traditional blue lights that would be in the railroad car. It's a little bright now, so you can't see them, but they're all in there. The floor lights also are.
Oh wow!
I did the did the bar. Grabbed the wrong.
Well, there's a lot of switches in there. It's okay.
So the floor dims,
Okay.
and then if you can look down to the bar, you can see it also has a dim
Okay.
function. So we tried to think about uses of the car, and one of the things we did discover was that the original lights that we put in were too bright.
Okay.
And now those lights are also an upgrade. The car didn't have the kick lights
Oh, okay.
originally, but it really adds to the ambiance of the car, and people seem to enjoy it.
Well, I think that's one of the fun details that people enjoy. These behind-the-scenes tours that we're doing with the Wisconsin Great Northern Rail Rangers and then our partners tonight, the 20th Century Railroad Club, is that I bet the people who come on the dinner train here and the B&B train, they probably don't even notice. I mean, they notice them, but they don't know how much thought goes into every little piece that the Wisconsin Great Northern puts to make your experience such a wonderful time up here at the railroad.
So I mentioned the paint colors in that. Ceiling is 99 point whatever% accurate to the original.
Okay.
As I said, the wall colors probably had more olive in them. These tabletops would be the original. These are original tabletops.
Oh, they are. Okay.
So this light green, you see it's a little more olive than what we have on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all original. When we worked on the car, when we did the painting, we took all of the booths out because while the vinyl was in good shape,
Mm-hmm.
all of the stitching had gone.
Okay.
And you can't restitch.
Kind of see.
You
Kind of
can't-
see that right there. Yeah.
Right, you can't restitch vinyl
Really?
in place, so you have to redo the entire seat.
Oh wow.
Now this looks like it may be in sections. That it is, but this is one section. This
Okay.
whole curved piece.
Oh wow.
So I think the railroad, when they took them out, probably took a window out because they'd have a platform or scaffolding that they could get them onto.
Okay.
We had to take them out the end of the car.
Oh, that had to be
And-
fun.
Well, it wasn't too bad because we didn't have that end painted when they went out,
Okay.
but when they came back in, we did, and we had the new fabric. So we had that much clearance on each side of them.
Is that something rare that a car from 1946 would still have the original tabletops? Because I know we did our program about a month ago over on the Sky Parlor, and that has gone a complete rebuild, like 4 times, 4 different interiors. Is that a pretty rare thing for a car from 1946 to have that, or is that pretty typical?
No, it would be part of the issue with this one is these are really monsters to deal with. And yes, the tabletop is connected to the pillar
Oh yeah.
underneath,
Yeah, you can see.
but on some of them, it's like this one over here, you have to be very careful because they're not that thick. So right there is a screw
Yeah.
that just went in a little too far.
Okay.
So this car was built in 46. It went into the shops in 54.
Okay.
And that's when it changed from tread brakes to disc brakes.
Okay.
It also went from its original paint scheme, which is what you see on the exterior now, and which is in this picture, even though that's the hummingbird. But that's what the exterior of the cars would have looked like. In 54, when they did the brake conversion, they also went to their all dark blue scheme, which was indicated in that picture that you saw from Chicago.
Okay.
So we did get all of the booths redone, but each of the individual pieces here in between the booths, which allowed the heat to rise originally when it was steam heated.
Oh, okay.
That's why they're there. But each one of these, and 1, 2, 3, 4, so there are 8 of them. They're all different. I mean, you'd think they're the same,
They kind of do. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell.
but yeah, if you when you start taking them apart, you know that they're different. So each one of them, each piece was labeled as to where it went in a bag.
Okay.
So that we'd put them back, so that at least we had the basics of the jigsaw.
Yeah.
Rather than having to figure out
Which of the 8
puzzle
pieces
we
are,
were working on. But we did the same thing with
look
all
at
the
wow.
cushions. So I had them all labeled as to which bench they went with.
Okay. Are they all different too? Those? Or is it just easier to...
They seem to fit better. You know, they've rubbed into place.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so you can see, the guy that worked on this one last. So they did a lot of that. I didn't pick one up that had some of the. But there's a date on the bottom of this one.
Okay. This is so cool.
Which I said we're just doing this randomly.
Yeah. So somebody's initials BR, and the sunset here is where the sun's starting to go down because it's about 7:20 at night.
12 or 15.
12 or 13 or 15 something. 54?
Yeah. So.
54.
Yeah. So that.
Wow. So that would have been the construction.
Yeah.
From 1954 when it went back in the shop.
Right.
That's pretty cool. Wow.
Now there was some controversy as to whether this car actually existed.
Really?
Because if you go to Dave Randall's series of books,
okay,
according to what he had for records, this car was scrapped.
Ah.
And there were, to backtrack a little bit into the history, there were 4 of these built. 2 for the Georgian, 2 for the Hummingbird.
Okay.
So the 3000, 3001 were the Hummingbird cars. The 3002 and the 3003, this one, were the Georgian cars.
Okay.
In looking at what Randall did and tracing it back, if you assume that there was a clerical error at a point up here in the list, then everything falls into place.
Okay.
So that's what we have to assume, that somebody made an error, because we have, as we took all the windows out, they're all, you can get an oddball one where they might have swapped one car for another.
Okay.
But the majority of them had 3003 on them. The numbers boards on the outside of the car, when we removed the paint, had 3003 out there. So I mean, we had pretty good evidence that this car really is the car that we.
Now, I've not seen that gentleman's page, but what does he think this is? The 3002 or what? I don't.
It'd be either,
I haven't seen this page yet. I'll have to check it out.
It would either be the 3000 or the 3001.
Oh, okay. It might have been
3002 was in the same auction that this car was in Iowa.
Okay.
So we'll backtrack the history there.
Yeah.
We know the car was built in 46 by ACF in St. Charles. It went to the L&N. As mentioned, originally the Georgian St. Louis to Atlanta didn't work, so figure out an overnight train with sections. Then when we came up to Amtrak time, L&N was holding on to this car. And they had a bunch of cars, obviously surplus cars, that Amtrak didn't want. A lot of sleepers. And there was a guy named David Witherspoon, who was a scrap dealer. He had this idea that he was going to tack on sleepers and a couple of feature cars to the end of L&N Fast Freights, running through their territory down to Florida. Which is a good market idea.
Yeah.
The problem with it was while the passenger department, which was trying to get rid of the cars and make money, the operating people hadn't been consulted. And when they finally were consulted, and I have copies of the memos from them.
Really?
The originals, not original copies, not copies of copies, say there's no way in hell we're going to do this.
Was it even? I mean, was it competition with Amtrak?
Well, I mean, they didn't even get that far.
So never actually did do that. It was a theory, like a theory. It never actually ran, and
it never actually ran. His problem, in trying to buy the cars, he wanted this car, and then they were going to be able to sell another 10 with it. So originally, L&N was going to hold on to this car.
Oh.
And they're going, well, wait a minute. If we can get $10,000 for this car, and we get rid of all these others, maybe we should hold on to, we'll figure out, we'll keep one of the other cars, even though this was the one they wanted. So they did the deal. He bought the cars, and then found out he couldn't run them. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Oops.
So from him.
So Amtrak didn't want this particular car at all.
No.
Okay.
This car is one of the oddball cars. It's like Union Pacific had aluminum cars. This car is essentially an aluminum car. It's got steel with, mixed with it, but this wasn't a car that Amtrak wanted.
Okay.
So from Witherspoon, the car went to the Purple Martin Society in Griggsville, Illinois.
Oh.
Purple martins are these birds that like to eat mosquitoes.
Oh. I like those. I like those kind of birds. We have too many of those mosquitoes up here in northern Wisconsin.
So, so they had, their concept was trains touring the country, promoting the Purple Martin.
Okay.
They're a whole yard down in Griggsville.
Where is Griggsville? Is it?
It's fairly close to the Mississippi.
Okay.
Along Iowa.
Okay.
That's
couple hours drive from Chicago, I guess.
Right, and
okay.
it probably was a Wabash line at the time, but it's a Norfolk Southern line now that goes right by there. So the folks in Griggsville got the cars. They painted them all purple Martin. That makes sense. Some of the cars then went to a museum outside Atlantic, Iowa, which is east of Omaha. There's an exit off of Interstate 80 where the museum was. They weren't making it. They had an auction. I went with a friend of mine to the auction just to see how things worked. I didn't take any money. This car and the 3002 were in the auction. I actually took some pictures inside this car at the auction.
So it's just more of a curiosity for you to
Right.
see what the cars look like. Maybe I'll take a peek in one of them, but not expecting to bid, huh?
No, and I didn't.
Oh.
So the guy that bought the car and decided, he didn't want it.
Okay.
Maybe
his wife didn't want it. I don't know.
Yeah. But the gentleman that was prepping the car for movement had a client that was putting together a possible dinner train.
Oh.
So he bought the car for the client. Well, that fell through. And then, I came into the picture. So from August to December of 1995,
Okay.
we went from the museum to Driscoll to Barlick so I was the fourth owner of the car in that year.
Where was the dinner train going to run? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay.
So when I got the car, we were outside of Fremont, Nebraska.
Okay. So this car was in Nebraska, sitting in a rail yard somewhere?
Actually on the short line
Okay.
down there.
Okay. Never heard of that one either.
Yeah. So when we went, Fremont and Elkhorn Valley.
Okay.
That's the name of it.
Okay.
They
Is it just a cheap place to store the car, pretty much? Or-
well, that's where he had storage of cars
Okay.
on it.
All right.
So, that's kind of a drive, from the Twin Cities.
A little
to get-
bit. Yeah. Yeah.
So we worked on it a little bit, but we were trying to get it up to the Twin Cities, and I had a contract with the NSF to bring it up, and then a bridge washed out on the short line. I'm going to bring it up Memorial Day weekend, and that's good. Have the extra time to do that. Well, that fell through.
Was this? This is now 1996.
This would have been 1996.
Okay.
So we go through the summer because they're supposed to repair the bridge, right?
Yeah.
We set it up for Labor Day. The NSF rates had gone up dramatically between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So I went to Union Pacific. So I had the ability to do either one out of Fremont.
Yeah.
Got down there and had to help finish repairing the bridge so we could get it out of town. I was actually able to ride the car part of the way from down there up to the Twin Cities. I don't think, because we went from Fremont to Council Bluffs up to Sioux City, right? Trying to remember.
Yeah.
And then up, and they had to. Apparently, the crew didn't get notified that I was on the car, so I was able to ride it out of Council Bluffs.
Oh, okay. Hey.
So we were able to ride had a nice ride, although with no air conditioning, you definitely have to have the
that's
door
right.
open.
Yeah.
To make everything work.
Didn't think about
So
that.
eventually we made it to the Twin Cities, and we got to the point where we were trying to get things painted. And even though this is basically automotive style paint, you couldn't find nobody in the Twin Cities that would take on the project. And you figure you have to have people in auto body shops that on the side do painting.
Minneapolis is a pretty big city.
Right.
Yeah.
And couldn't find anybody. And that was, early on learning that when you say it's for a railroad car, people will go, "Oh no, I can't do it," even though it's metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So we ended up. We went to Duluth for a winter because the electrician said, "Oh, I'll finish the car up over the winter." Think about that. Those of you in Chicago may not know the reputation of Duluth.
Yeah.
But,
worse than Chicago, we'll just say that.
Yeah.
Well, just a little bit.
So it's, we'll finish it up over the winter, and it's parked outside.
Yeah.
So it had to get out of there. Greg said he would help with the painting. So that's how it ended up down here on the Wisconsin Great
Okay.
Northern.
And when did you move it from Duluth down here? Or?
I'd have to go back and look at the dates.
That's all right.
It's a good question. I did. One of the strange things about that move was when I called the CN, they said, "Well, you have to look up your own rate." And so I did, and discovered that it was cheaper to move from Duluth to Hayward Junction than it was from Superior to Hayward Junction.
Weird.
And I'm going, wait a minute. To get to Duluth, you have to go
Through Superior. Yeah.
But it was obviously an oddball rate that nobody had.
Well, now if someone from CN is watching this tonight, the rate will go up, I guess.
Well, it already.
Oh, it already has. Okay, good. I'm glad. I don't want to ruin that for anybody.
Right. So, but that was one of the, and they're going, well, we can't do. And well, no, you told me to look it up, and here it is. So
okay.
That's how we ended up down here.
So we got basically this car is 4 of these, kind of the round
Yeah, they're
round end, and then we have two just straight tables there.
Right.
Okay.
And one of the things that we did do, we found an upholsterer outside of Spooner who wasn't scared off by the fact that it's a railroad car. They go, it's upholstery. You do upholstery. So these were all done outside of Spooner.
Okay. Interesting.
So while we're walking through, because we have a good example of the window shades.
Oh wow.
Window shades are a whole nother story.
Okay.
As they age, if these were 46 or 54 or even replacement shades, I tried to hold on to as many of them as we could. Eventually, we came down to 8 shades that were still operating. So these 6 and the 2 across from the bar, and then when we get to the far end, if we pull down a shade, you'll see that it's solid gray.
Okay.
This is how they originally looked in 1946.
Okay.
Except it would have been a room darkening shade, like the gray ones are.
Which we'll see a little later. Okay.
Yeah, that we'll see a little later.
Okay.
The original shade manufacturer is still in business.
Wow.
So
That's funny.
I went to them, and they're going, "We can't do this." Wait a minute.
A lot of people are telling you that, Charlie.
And it's like, in 1946, you could do it. They're your shades.
Yeah.
Nope, we can't do it now. So that's why they're solid gray on that end of the car.
Okay.
We held on to the originals on this end of the car for as long as we could. It's another 4 years later. Eventually they gave out. So, and at that point they said, "Oh, we can print on them." And we go, okay, you've figured out what you could do in 1946 now.
Okay.
So they did, but they couldn't print on the room darkening material for some reason.
Oh.
So you can see the light through here.
A little bit.
So this is
yeah.
a light filtering shade.
Okay.
And it was like, okay, do we go for trying to keep in the original scheme, or do we do the room dark? Which part of the original do we keep?
Yeah.
So we went with trying to keep color. They had original shades to work with, so the color matches. If you go from this shade to that shade, you can see they didn't quite line up everything as they should have. But,
yeah.
At least we got some.
There you go.
Somewhere. Another thing on this side of the car is, we mentioned these big chunks of steel or aluminum underneath the tables. When we first started running, people were getting cold feet under here. So I mentioned the car was originally steam heat. So there's a little grate underneath there.
Oh, yeah.
So steam would have been able to come out that way to do some foot heating. Up through these grates, as we mentioned. When the car was redone before I got it, there was radiant heating put on the panels on the side.
Oh, okay.
Which works fine. Maybe it works fine if you're in Nebraska or Illinois. It doesn't work so well up here. So one of the things that we went back and did was there are actually kick heaters underneath the seats at each table point.
Oh, okay. Look at that.
And so they, through the circuitry in there, they rotate, so they're not on all the time, but they'll come on to provide the heat, and people have not complained about cold feet.
Interesting.
After we did that, but it's
So
it's
another one of
those
those little
things-
touches that I bet no one ever thinks about, but when they come and ride on the dinner train up here. But
Yeah. As we go along, we have a bunch of new windows in here. It's an example of one of the original style windows, which is a double pane window. And double pane windows are a big pain for maintenance.
there's a little pun in there, Charlie.
Yeah. Once you get
Pains are a pain.
once you get the moisture inside them, it's impossible
Oh, a little
get
bit there.
out.
Yeah.
So, and this one's actually a temporary window. We had a window damaged, so
Oh,
it's waiting to be replaced.
okay.
But it's a great example. So I thought, okay, do we have a window that gets fogged on the inside where the passengers can't do anything about it, or do we have a single pane window where you'll get condensation on the inside,
Oh,
but then the passenger can take a napkin or a paper towel and remove that condensation and still be able to see out the window.
okay.
So all of the new windows that were ordered are single pane windows.
Okay. Are these original?
This is an original window.
It would be.
Now this is actually Lexan in this window.
Okay.
I would not, no, unless Lexan has improved greatly, I wouldn't be putting it in.
Okay.
And it's hard to, it may be hard to tell, but if you step back here and you look at that window versus that window,
Mm-hmm.
you see that the Lexan itself is starting to cloud,
Mm-hmm.
whereas this glass, is a clear shot
Okay.
through it. And this actually is an escape window, so we put
Ah. Oh, the emergency exits, yeah. People are familiar with that. I'm sure they were on Amtrak.
right.
Yeah.
So
The
each
handles.
so
Wow.
each side of the car has two escape windows. The conductor's office has a window. Both of the bathrooms have a window. So
Okay.
yeah, even though we're not Amtrak compatible, would never go onto Amtrak, we do meet the escape requirements.
That's good. Good to know. Yeah.
So we worked down the windows. So this one was an escape window that was damaged. So this again has a Lexan window as a temporary replacement. Window frames were really great, nice looking, black Formica, for lack of a better name, over plywood. Well, when I got the car, it was Formica over plies of wood.
Oh.
So, again, trying to think, okay, how do we keep it? So that it looks as close to the original as possible, but we know there are going to be water problems. So how do we, try to eliminate that? So this is a solid surface material in here, but it's the same look as the original. So and we did little other things. In addition to the kick lighting here, there are outlets underneath these two tables.
Yep. There you go. Obviously not original. People didn't have all their gadgets back in
Right.
1946.
And as it, and now even having those, it's not enough for some people. The other two things I'll mention, the upgrades here above your head in this light fixture
Oh, look.
and in the one behind you. This is the NC and St. L. This is technically the owner of the car. Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis. And then the parent company, the L&N, is in the light fixture as you first walk on.
Go over there and go back. Show this guy's pretty cool. Oh, look at that. Pretty cool.
So
Pretty cool.
those are add-ons. The company that did the mirrors did these originally, and then I went back to them for the mirrors based on their work. So we have one on each end of the car. When I mentioned, skip back to the car history. When I mentioned there were 4 of them, the 3000 and the 3001, the 2 Hummingbird cars, are gone.
Wow, scrapped or
Yeah.
okay.
The 3002 was in the same auction as the 3003. Last anybody saw it, that we have confirmation of, it was in a wedding chapel outside Orlando, Florida.
How long? A while ago? Or?
A while ago.
Okay.
But it was, the way the wedding chapel was built, it probably is there. It was what we call stuffed and mounted.
Okay. Not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere. It did have a roof over it to help protect it from the elements. So that was good. But the 3002 was missing one of the key things that sold me on this car, which is the artwork.
Yeah.
I mean, the etched glasses.
Is this original?
That's original.
That is with the horses. Is that because they went through Kentucky or?
Right. Yeah, think
Okay.
Louisville and Nashville.
Yeah.
Whatever around going through. I mean, the car's name's the Aristocrat.
Yeah. Let me ask you, is that a horse? I mean, I guess I don't know. What is the Aristocrat?
Well, racing is the.
Okay.
the
I don't know
sport-
anything about horse.
Yeah,
Okay.
racing is the sport of aristocrats.
Okay. Horse racing is. I didn't
Yeah,
know
horse
that.
racing.
Okay.
Originally, according to the plans, this was supposed to be horseshoe shaped. This opening.
Like at the top.
Yeah.
Like around. You can kind of picture
Yeah,
that, I
it's-
guess.
Yeah, they didn't quite get that whole detail, but it was supposed to be that. So between the etched glass and the curved bar, those are the things that really sold me on it.
Yeah. Wow.
But again,
And so nobody ever took this out? I mean,
no. Now in the 3002,
that is just beautiful. I mean, really.
this is missing.
Oh, somebody took it out. So it's
And
okay.
they substituted the glass that you see on the other side of the car in here, and then they put some flowery stuff back there.
Okay.
So we did the painting on the inside and out. All of this was stripped to bare metal
Okay.
before we painted, and we painted the car in sections. So we weren't trying to do the whole thing at once.
I'm gonna look back at those horses again. I love that. I'm sure everybody out there's. I love that glass. Wow. What did the 2 other cars, the 3000 and the 3001, have?
They would have had the same detail.
Was it all the same horse with the 6 horses, or did they?
I have been through the blueprints
It is so cool.
and cannot find a blueprint.
Okay. Oh, okay. So we don't know if it's unique to this car or it had some other kind
Right,
of
we
piano.
know there's glass panels in each of them.
Okay.
We don't know correct
If it was
this is
horse
unique to this
or-
one, or if it was
Could've
common to the 4 cars.
Okay. Interesting.
I've been able to go through and find blueprints and that for a lot of the car. A couple different sources in St. Louis that have the material. But there are some things where I just couldn't find. I couldn't find, this panel on the bulkheads on the lounge side. There were big pieces of artwork. No indication
Really?
of what was supposed to be there.
And we got the beautiful bar here.
So we do have an original hand washing sink back here with so the wash your hands
Okay.
and that Louisville and Nashville passenger
Yeah.
department.
Wash your hands. That's good advice for during this pandemic too. Wash your hands. Look at that. How about that?
So, one of the things that we did lose, this would have been a wall
Oh,
with cabinets
okay.
in it. It was water damage. It was so far gone
Huh.
that we really couldn't tell what was supposed to go back here, so we tried to make it functional. We did add, and you walked past one of them, we did add fire extinguishers. There were fire extinguishers in here, but modern fire extinguishers would not fit into the cabinets that they had. So
Okay.
we did add modern fire extinguishers. Original refrigerators. We did have to change them, so we added the LED lighting so it was easier to see. In fact, there was not a light back here for some reason.
Huh.
So we added a light, but these fixtures are readily available.
Yeah.
So we were able to keep it,
Yeah,
so
it really. So these were original around the
those are all
around
original,
the bar.
but there was nothing back here.
Well, that's a pretty darn good match there, I'd say. Yeah.
It actually is. And the refrigeration, we had to put a new unit in, what was original to the car, whether it was 46 or 54, that was just long gone. So this is what would be in a beverage cooler that you'd find in a convenience store.
Okay.
And it works fairly well. It has its separate unit outside underneath the car. So one of the other subsystems that took a lot of work was the call button system.
Oh.
Each section of the car has a button in it, and when you press the button,
I'll run over here real quick to show everybody.
you're calling for service.
I don't know if you could hear that. Oh, so it actually works.
So it actually works. So I'm going to go reset it, and I will duck underneath you. And
So you know who hit that button, then so you don't have to go.
right.
Who needs a drink? You'll know exactly what table.
So this is 3. This is 2. This is 1.
Okay.
And the other side of the car is 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
So you'll go on the panel again, so that I'll hit the 2, and
Okay.
that way they can
Well, okay.
see.
This is fun. I love playing with this stuff. Okay. Okay, number 2 lights up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we can reset it by pressing the.
Right.
You're acknowledging that table number. Oh, it's getting busy. I got 2 and 3.
Yep.
Bunch of needy passengers tonight. Look at that.
And
Very cool.
and if the attendant isn't at the bar, then that's what this button is.
Where is it?
So there's a buzzer on either side of the car.
Oh,
It's at the center light fixture on that side.
okay.
So that's saying there's somebody waiting for service here.
Oh,
That all seems pretty simple,
yeah.
but it's not.
Okay.
First, in rewiring, we had to pull all of the wires out, which was kind of interesting, and the electrician worked on part of that. I had the brilliant idea because these buttons weren't lit.
Okay.
In 1946, think about it. They weren't lit.
Yeah.
So I had the brilliant idea. Well, you can walk into any home center, hardware store.
Okay.
And get a lit doorbell button.
Okay.
So we did, and the annunciator panel wouldn't work
With the modern doorbell?
with the modern doorbell
Ah.
because the lights that are in those
Yeah.
draw too much power.
Okay. So it's kind of a current thing.
So one of my other friends took all of these buttons home, cut out the incandescent bulbs that were in there,
Wow.
and put LEDs in them.
Okay.
And these are orange. We tested the different colored LEDs. So these are orange LEDs, so they look like dim incandescents. And the LEDs don't draw that much power, and it allows the system to work.
Okay.
Also added some LEDs into the panel to make the flags easier to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because they popped out. You could see 2 and 3.
Yeah.
If the lights weren't there,
Is that what they are? Just little flags that pop up?
yeah, there's a piece of plastic that the number's on the front of,
Okay.
and it actually drops
Okay.
down
Interesting.
when you do that.
Okay.
Also,
What is that?
so this was the communications
Oh.
center.
Okay.
So originally, there would have been a 1940s type radio in here,
Really?
and the antenna wire runs. There's a conduit up above, so there's a wire going, a coax actually.
So they would just pick
to the
up
roof.
whatever city they might be going through, might get the news update going through Atlanta or
Right.
wherever they're going. Okay. You think that would change a lot, though, right? Like,
Right, but
you keep changing the channel every.
But you'd
Hour,
know, you'd know the territory.
That's true.
That you were traveling through.
That's a good point,
So
yeah.
you'd know it. But getting this whole annunciator system to work, took 5 different people.
And I didn't know it actually worked all the time. The year or so I've been coming up here, I didn't even know that worked. A lot of times it's just kind of for show. That's pretty cool.
Right. So
Do people still use it on the dinner train, or do they know what it is?
Well, there are some people that think that that's an emergency brake
Uh-oh.
or calling for a stop, because
Okay.
if you get on a bus in a city, you press a button or pull a car.
True. Yeah, that's
and
true. I
the
never thought
indication
about that.
next-
Yeah.
Next stop. So
You're-
that's what some people.
You're on a CTA
think it
bus. Yeah.
But so if we go back to the shades,
Oh yeah, the line, the striped shades on the other side that we were talking about.
so
You see the
I
difference.
mean, you can even see right here, even though you've got the sun coming on them.
Yeah.
that this is a darker
Oh
shade.
yeah.
It's not allowing as much light through it.
Yeah.
So, so it's like, well, there's no. I mean, yes, it'd be nice to have everything looking like the original, but
Mm-hmm.
then there's the money issue, and since I was doing this myself, it's like, okay, it's a whole nother house.
It is. Did you ever want this? Because we do a lot of some of our programs with the Rail Rangers and the 20th Century Railroad Club. We do them on private rail cars on the back of Amtrak, so a lot of people are familiar with those. Did you ever plan on restoring this to be one of those private cars that would run on the back of Amtrak? I know, and I think that costs a lot of money too, more than.
Well, we looked at what we'd have to do, and this was several years ago. We just did rough estimates: $20,000 for the trucks, another $20,000 for the electrical, because right now we have 480 running down one side of the car.
Oh.
Amtrak requires it on both sides of the car,
Okay.
plus the communication cable.
Okay.
So you'd have to add that. Also, as I mentioned earlier, this is an aluminum car for the most part,
Yeah.
and there's some issues where aluminum and steel meet,
Oh.
and we just looked at that and going, that would be cost prohibitive to
Okay.
do. I mean, it's safe to run,
Yeah.
on any railroad where you don't have a lot of speed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But Amtrak would never take the
Okay.
car. I mean, it would cost way more than it's worth
To do it for this particular car.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
And well, we mentioned the aluminum and steel. This side of the car is interesting. This was the first side we got stripped, and then we couldn't find somebody to paint it. and it started oxidizing,
Oh, no.
and we discovered this panel's steel, this panel's aluminum, this is steel, that's aluminum. Apparently there was a shortage or something because they didn't keep them the same. I mean, you'd think all steel or all aluminum. I mean, and it's all the ply metal, material. But so that was strange. The panels were interacting with each other. So we had to clean them again, get a coat of primer on them, and that.
I see the logo again.
That's
that
all.
light, yeah.
So one of the other upgrades that we did was this would not have been, like this. You would have had
A standalone table and 2 chairs.
this is part of the operation for the dinner train.
Yeah.
But if you look at the side, you see you've got oak window frame,
Ah.
and then the paneling down here.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been dark green
Oh.
masonite
Okay.
type material. If you go back to where those 2 rectangular tables are,
Yeah. We show
you'll see
people.
the dark green on masonite underneath them.
Okay.
So
this is
so this is what it
what would be
this is
over
what
there.
It would have like on the entire
Gotcha.
car.
Okay. Okay.
So
Give people an idea what the original
so
will look like.
I mean we did this upgrade, and then of course when you start doing things with a railroad car, you always find things that don't work exactly as you want them to.
Yeah.
So that's why this detail is here,
Okay.
because it didn't want to work
Gotcha.
the way we wanted it to.
Gotcha.
Carpeting was one of the last things we did.
Okay.
This was as close as we could find to the original. We could now probably get the original at a more reasonable cost,
Mm-hmm.
rather than doing a complete custom run, because there are other people that have wanted the same patterns. But we weren't in a position to do it. This was close. The color is proper.
Mm-hmm.
And the pattern kind of gives you a feel for what was there. We had done the tavern side first,
Okay.
and when we did the tavern side, I asked the supplier, how do we make sure that we've got the same carpet available for the lounge? And they said, oh, not a problem. The mill gives us 6 months notice before they discontinue, and they always have something left.
Okay.
3 months later, they call and say, they've discontinued it and there's 1 piece left.
Ah.
I said, well, does it fit?
Yeah.
And they go, yes.
Okay.
The installers, so we bought the piece, they held on to it because we weren't ready for the carpet in here. When the installer came out, when they do it, we're short this much
Oh no.
carpet.
Figures. Yeah.
You've been on the car. Have you seen where it's short?
Hmm.
It's on this side of the car.
Let's look. See if people. If you're noticing it, you can paste. You can post in the comments on our YouTube page if you see it, because I don't see it yet. We're looking. Where's the carpet short? Post on the comments before Charlie reveals here. I am.
You gotta keep going.
Okay, that's a hint. Where do you think? Is it? It's not. No. Hmm?
Yeah, right there.
Right there.
You can see the.
Oh.
Now that I show it to you, you can see the seam.
Just a little bit, right there. Yeah.
So that's how
Wow.
short we were.
Okay.
And
Wow.
and it wasn't that we had mismeasured or the installer had mismeasured.
Mm-hmm.
The mill had the wrong dimension
Okay.
on the carpet, so
Wow.
so they were wrong. So
Well, again, one of those things that I don't think any of our passengers would probably ever know, but now they, now with your behind the scenes tour here, they know. They'll look for it when they come ride the dinner train.
So, one of the it's got 2 drink stands on the train. This is an original L&N stand, and it's an ACL stand. And I figured we could get, and it actually has the medallion on the bottom, so there's no question about it. And I figured, well, we could get by with having an Atlantic Coastline stand on, because when L&N and Seaboard merged, maybe some equipment got swapped around. It was better than putting my Kansas City Southern stand on here. That wouldn't fit. So there is actually some logic to having, or at least some rationalization to having an ACL drink stand on here.
There you go.
These were all sandblasted and power coated. Those are original. The tables are original, but the tops we had to replace.
Okay.
So we're trying to find a color that played off the colors in the car. So on the lounge side here, all 4 of the tables, they had a gray top on them, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, they weren't. If they had the same material that was on the tables on the tavern side, we would have left it.
You said this was original L&N. Is it original to the car?
No.
Okay. So you just, where do you find it? eBay? I've seen them go on eBay before. Or where do you?
That's actually where, and there have been some that have been at astronomical prices.
Yes.
And I haven't seen anything really pop up recently to know what the good market is. But these are in the the $750 price range.
Well, if anybody's a collector and they're watching us live tonight, just go ahead in the comments there on our YouTube page, and if you paid for one of these, let Charlie know, and we'll let him know how much if you recently bought one of these on eBay.
I have a couple sitting in the house.
Do you? Everybody collects something different. So I'm sure somebody watching this collects the drink stands or whatnot.
And in fact, we had one passenger last summer who rode, and Greg has a drink stand in the gift shop, but it's for display. He doesn't want to sell it. And the guy really wanted to buy a drink stand, so I took pictures of the ones that I had at home.
Okay.
And now he paid cash for one of them. I brought it in the next morning, and
okay.
I mean, so he was happy with it. So I've got some more if anybody.
Oh, all right. What railroads?
Well, one of them is a Pennsylvania railroad that's actually off one of the Metroliner cars, because you can see where it was bolted to the floor, and it's a rectangular stand, so it's different. But I've got a couple of other round.
Well, hey, if you're interested, email us at board, BOARD, all one word, board at Rail Rangers, also one word, railrangers.org, board at railrangers.org, and we'll hook you up with Charlie, and maybe if the price is right, you can have a drink stand of your own.
So
interesting.
So all of the lounge chairs on this side, and as we walk through, the tables would not have been original.
What would have been here?
More chairs.
Oh, okay. So
single
standalone kind.
Right. Now this is so that at night people that are on the bed and breakfast can come in and play games.
Sure.
In here, and have room to sit or and play games, or they can sit here and talk. These chairs are actually Canadian sleeping car chairs.
Oh.
All of the original furniture for this car was at the auction, and the owners of Branson Scenic Railroad in Missouri purchased the furniture.
Okay.
If you go down and ride their train, you will see some of my furniture on their train.
So they got it out before.
Well, I mean, at the auction, I wasn't buying anything.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And
so they like the furniture, you know.
they didn't want the car; they just
did.
wanted the furniture.
Right.
Okay.
So these are Canadian sleeping car chairs. There are actually, and here's another one to look for. There are actually two different versions of it because
Of the chairs?
of,
Oh
of
yeah.
the fabric and the upholstery.
Slight. You can notice that just slightly.
Big.
Yeah.
Because when I was having them done, I needed a batch done for the first run that we did,
Okay.
and it was a real hassle. The woman that was doing it lost my check, which was
Oh.
prepayment for everything, and then she didn't bother to call.
Oh.
And it's like, we need this. So I did not go back to her. I went to the folks that did the booths on the tavern side.
Okay.
And if you're in the upholstery business, unless you buy so much from a supplier,
Okay.
you can't work with that supplier.
Oh, okay.
So that's like the fabric and the armrest, you know, that were done on the first batch,
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't match. So they came as close as they could
Okay.
with it. So it's one of those, again, unless you're looking, you probably don't know. Yes, the color is appropriate.
That would have matched though.
I've looked at color photographs. There were a couple of movies that I could catch a glimpse, and I'd still frame them on the television to try to make sure that we were, you know, in the realm of possibility
Okay.
on it. So as I said, let's see if we pulled one. Very good. We actually pulled one that. See if we can get this in the sun for you.
Yeah. Yeah, get that in there before the sun goes down here. Yeah, oh, but look at that. Pretty cool.
So these are a pretty nifty
So
chair
these would have ran on from Toronto to Vancouver?
that you can easily collapse them
Oh,
to get them on and off the car or move them around.
okay. Look at
Also
that.
makes them easier to store. And they're need to, some people don't put the cotter key back in, and then you have the possibility of.
Yeah, you don't want.
Let's see if this one has the car number on it.
Was that it?
Okay, so
2024?
yeah, 2024.
Okay. That would have been the Canadian National car that it was
Right.
originally on. Wow. And it's got the logo on the handle there too.
This one does too.
Yeah.
Some of them
Pretty
don't
cool.
have the logo. That one does. Does that have a good car number? No. So and you can see they're all slightly
Yeah.
different too. But this was
So where did you get these from then? You talked about auction or did this eBay too?
it's a guy that had a bundle,
Oh, okay. Just love the chairs.
and so we bought all the chairs, and then some of them we actually sold some of the chairs because they had way more than I needed.
Okay.
So some of them are on a couple of other rail cars.
Oh, okay. So it would have looked, like you said, it would have looked like this, but all the way going to the bar.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So now see, here's another different variation.
Oh.
So that's just the CNR
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
on it,
Yeah.
and then here's the 1139 for the car that it belonged to.
Interesting.
So I mean, each,
So no swapping around the chairs on the Canadian National, I guess.
so we looked at the light lenses for the lights in the center. The light lenses for here, these are all plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And you can imagine, even if it was the 1954, that they replaced stuff. Yeah, that's 50. That was 50 plus years old. When I was starting to work with it, and a lot of them were broken. So this is actually an original. And you can see how it's broken.
A little bit there, yeah.
But if you and this let's see how well it shows up. Ooh, and this one actually, this is a replacement. Ooh, and that must have cracked the last time somebody put it in. But if you look at this side, and I don't know, this may be more a tactile thing, but if you feel this,
yeah,
you can feel.
It's hard to see. It's kind of rough.
Yeah. And if you feel the original, it's smooth.
Okay.
So I was able to find a plastic company in the Twin Cities.
Wow.
The salesperson happened to be a rail fan, which helped. And so he was able to get them made for me. The top, and this is a replacement one too. Now on the top, there's a little more waviness in it. You can see it's not a straight clear
Yeah, you can definitely.
lens. The originals were clear pieces. That actually was a stock piece
Oh.
for them. Unfortunately, the gentleman died,
Oh.
and because I spent $1,000 on
Yeah.
that, and when I went back in to try to get some other stuff done,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't talk to me. So
So just because he was a rail fan. he
because
was
I wasn't big enough business for him. But,
just a couple pieces.
so it's like, so some of the stuff is available. And
One of the
some
stuff
of
about
it's-
being a private rail car owner, it's trying to find some of this
and
stuff. People don't realize the challenges a lot of private car rail car owners have or face.
When I went to have the chairs upholstered the first time, I took a chair in because by that time I'd learned you don't tell them it's for a railroad car. You just have a chair. I have a chair.
I have a
that needs to
chair.
be upholstered.
Is it intimidating if you say it's for a
If it's
railroad
for-
car? That's where you get the I can't do it?
Yeah, that's where you get the
Yeah.
I can't do it. And it's like, you do upholstery.
Yeah.
It's a chair.
Yeah.
And so I took it to a good half dozen places around the Twin Cities. I spent a day actually going place to place with it.
Wow.
And it's, well, what's it for? Oh, we can't do it. That's like,
Interesting. Just
you
intimidated,
look
yeah.
at it, but as soon as you say
It is
what-
just a chair, yeah.
It is just a chair.
Yeah.
Either you can do upholstery or not. So one of the things we did decide to do, because things get to be artsy,
Yeah.
is just the handbrake, just to paint it the dark green so it
Okay.
so it stands out. That probably would have just blended into the wall. So here's the blueprint for the car. This is the exterior, and notice there are two different lettering diagrams for it.
LNN and NC and St.
STL,
Louis.
so that's for the Georgian. That would have been in gold leaf.
Okay.
The Louisville and Nashville, which was for the Hummingbird, would have been in imitation gold paint.
Okay.
It's like, I'm not quite sure why they
The
differentiate.
difference, yeah.
But anyway, so that's how. This is the exterior, how it was supposed to look.
Is this the original blueprint, or
This is a copy of the original.
copy of the
blueprint.
original blueprint? Wow.
I have. Or is this? Or did I have two of them made? Well, anyway, I had. Yeah. So I have one of these at home, and we've got this one
Okay,
framed here.
gotcha. Where were you able to come across the original blueprints? It's good.
This was either at the Museum of Transportation in St. Louis
Oh, okay.
or the Mercantile Library. There's a John Bergner collection there.
Okay.
And between the two,
Mm-hmm.
there's just a wealth of material. But again, remember I said I couldn't find blueprints for the bulkhead walls here. So, I mean, this had a big picture on it, which basically would have been here to here.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing on the other wall.
Okay.
And no blueprints for it. But you can see some of the chairs were doubles on this side, with singles, drink stands. But when you get down, so you can see they indicate doors swinging, behind the refrigerator.
Okay.
And it's like, do you really want something swinging that way?
Yeah.
Kind of a challenge.
Yeah.
But then if you, this would have been, say, door opening to form horseshoe.
Oh, that's what you were talking about earlier when we were walking through there. Okay. But they never did that, you said.
They never did that. And then here's the conductor's office. And remember when I said that somebody thought you could get two people in there?
Oh, the chair. So one guy sitting there, and then one against the window. I guess I don't know.
There's no room for that.
Well, especially with the door swinging out.
Yeah.
Would just like hit the guy.
Yeah.
I guess you have to move the chair every time you'd want to get in the the office there. I don't know.
So it's kind of one of those. Okay, yeah. I said, I know people are bigger today, but they're not that much bigger than in 46. So.
Yeah.
But a lot of the specifications. I mean, here, the exhaust fans for both of the bathrooms were supposed to remove 500 cubic feet per minute on the exhaust fan. I mean, there are even some of the details picked up here that you would have thought would be in another blueprint somewhere.
Yeah.
And on some of these, I mean, so you can see now that says there's supposed to be a lamp there, and there's no indication that actually ever was there.
Okay. So just because it's on the blueprint doesn't mean it necessarily was per se done.
Right, because I mean this one is the revision. Because this was an earlier. 43 was the original.
Oh, so this is 2.5-3 years before it was actually built and
Right.
put into service. During the middle of the war, that date catches me as that they were actually planning this in the smack dab in the middle of World War II. They were designing trains still. I thought that all kind of came to a stop. I don't know much history of that.
But you could design, you just couldn't build.
Okay.
So if the lettering,
so that's what the delay was, I guess.
If you note the lettering diagram, was May of 46.
Okay. Hence, just everything on hold for 3 years. I didn't even know that. Well, I learned something myself today, that they were still designing cars, maybe not building them, but I didn't even know that they were still designing them during the war. That's interesting. I thought that I would have grounded to some kind of halt.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, it's all good, but some minor variations, and we tried grouping these chairs as doubles, and it just doesn't work.
People are pretty happy with the way it is. Yeah.
So I mean, the doubles, you don't have the armrest in here, so you know they're not quite as wide, so that part seems to work out.
Yeah.
So that is just about everything on the interior of the car that we.
Very
that we
cool.
did.
So talk just a little bit about the and it's, I know it's already getting near 8:20 in the evening. Sun's going to be going down here in a little bit. What just real quick before we wrap up our first part here, what do you do on the dinner train, and then what is this car used for? For the Wisconsin Great Northern, you mentioned that some people can play cards. Is this the to go on this car? Do you have to do the overnight, the bed and breakfast, or is this a dinner train car? Or if you could explain a little bit, and then maybe tell people what your job is on the dinner train.
We've used this car, a couple different ways. In the dinner train, if folks are here ahead of boarding time, or dinner time, we'll welcome them onto the car.
Okay.
Have beverage service available for them, so they can sit and mingle here a little bit, because once you get down into the dining area, you're seated at a table and it's a little more restrictive.
Okay. So even if you're doing the dinner train when we start running again May 1st, 2021, even if you're just doing the dinner train, you can come and check out the car here, the Aristocrat car. That's pretty cool.
So I have been bartending on this car.
Oh, okay.
And then when we move people down into the diner, I will move down there to assist the wait staff there as a bartender, and then help pick up the weight duties. If the load's heavy and they need help, so I'll also be waiting on people. So we have a good. It depends on the load. There's, some nights if it's a lighter load, we may actually have people come back down here in between dinner and dessert.
Okay.
And this you don't have as much obstruction. We do have lights on the exterior of the car, so once it gets dark, we can still illuminate part of the scenery, and then shutting all the side lights down, just going to the blue lights up top and the dimmer lights on the bar, and that you get a good viewing experience.
Well, that's what I noticed coming here in all four seasons now, as people said, well, 5:30 dinner train departure in the winter isn't going to be dark, and it's dark, but with the LED lights that Wisconsin Great Northern has added to the sides of the car, it's pretty cool, and it's beautiful. There's 2.5, 3 feet of snow out there. You'll still see deer running through the woods, and this is something you want to see in the daylight, but you also want to come back and experience during the winter months when it's also less crowded too. That's another feature. But like Charlie said, it is absolutely beautiful in the wintertime too. And just because it's dark, don't think you're not going to see anything outside your window, or don't let that deter you from coming up here and visiting us. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. It's can't believe it's almost 8:30 in the evening. We're going to wrap up our first part here, and I'm going to throw it back to Candace, who's standing by out front of the depot. She'll wrap it up, and I appreciate your time with this very in-depth tour of the Aristocrat, former L&N car, with Charles Barthold. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Charlie.
You're welcome.
All right.
And hope to see you up here when we get running again.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 here at the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad. Join us August 23rd at 7 p.m. Central, and we'll show you the rest of the dinner train.
Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Rail Rangers on the Road. To learn more about the Midwest Rail Rangers, our 501c3 nonprofit organization, simply log on to www.railrangers.org. That's www.railrangers.org. And if you're interested in planning your own trip, you can also purchase one of our Railroad Route Guide books, ebooks, or MP3 podcasts at the Midwest Rail Rangers store, conveniently located at www.midwestrails.com. That's www.midwestrails.com. Until our next program, have a great day.